How's everyone doing? Welcome to our big New Year's Eve Mastermind live stream. My name is Mike. Welcome for joining this live stream here on this Friday, guys. A lot of strategy in the next hour or so, guys. We're going to be talking about your New Year's Eve for rideshare, why it's important, okay, what to expect, how to prepare, really how to study, and how much you should expect to earn when driving on the Sunday. It's hitting on a Sunday this year, guys. So welcome. Thank you for joining here. I'm really excited to talk to you guys in this mastermind. We've done a lot of research, guys. We're going to be touching on some previous year's announcements from both Uber and Lyft, and we're going to compare that to what we think this year is going to do for New Year's. And we're going to answer the question, why is New Year's such a big deal in rideshare? Let me know where you're watching from, guys. Post in the live chat. And when you do post in the live chat, we can see your comments right here in real time. If you're watching in the rebroadcast, let me know as well. Post in the comments below where you're watching from. And guys, as we get some people in here, we're going to talk strategy. So firstly, how has your week been? How has the Uber and Lyft market been where you're at? And we really talk about, now if you follow on our new presence on Facebook, if you didn't know, guys, I'll take some time right now just to let you get a heads up here. Our new community on Facebook, Your Driver Mike, it's facebook.com/Your Driver Mike. We posted there a little bit more detail than you're going to get here on YouTube. And we talked about, is it really the time to diversify? And if so, what is the smartest way to diversify your earnings? Okay, we answered that question there on Facebook. So I invite you to, if you haven't done so already, leave a like on that new Facebook community and join the team over on Facebook because, again, we can go into more detail and we can have more discussion than we can here on YouTube at times. So guys, thank you so much. We got a bunch of people joining right now, guys. The friendly guy says, my market has been slow for the holidays. New Year's hopefully should be good. Greenville, South Carolina, and surrounding areas. The friendly guy, thanks for joining as always, and I appreciate you dropping the market there. I think this is the first time that I see what market you're in. Greenville, South Carolina, awesome. William, thanks for joining again. Canada, it's nice and snowy here, guys. Here, what's the what's the forecast here in San Diego right now? It is 58. We had a high of 65 today, and it looks like we're hitting the 60s and 70s. But guys, if you're new to the channel, or if you've been following for some time, we're headed back to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for the holidays. Next week, we're actually flying out tomorrow. And if you've been following for quite a while, we streamed from Detroit. Tomorrow we're going to be in Denver and then in Pittsburgh. And then our way back, we're going to be in beautiful Las Vegas on our way back to San Diego. So who knows? Maybe we'll live stream again from the airport. So make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already so you don't miss that. The Good Tex Los Angeles getting ready up in LA, guys. I tell you, if there's one market where it's consistently predictable to be busy, it's LA. And I do have access to see some of the heat maps up in LA, at least on Lyft. I believe I can see it maybe on Uber as well. But I mean, you go even more north up to the Bay Area, San Francisco, LA, New York drivers, those are the markets that are pretty consistent. I'd say maybe Chicago as well. Let me know. Let me know if you're in a market that's very, very consistent, well, where surge is almost always prevalent. I'd be curious to know that. Rossi, hey, thanks for joining, Rossi, from Miami, Florida. I've been to Miami. It's beautiful up in Bayfront Park, Miami. I love it. Very nice. Thanks. Appreciate you being here. Michael Moore, my market is slow also in Mobile, Alabama. Interesting. I'm curious to see if there's any kind of correspondence to market size and demand levels, right? So I'm hearing that maybe obviously some of the top 5 markets are busy, but maybe if in a smaller to medium sized market, maybe not so much. That's very interesting. Here in San Diego, I would definitely put it at a medium large sized market. But we can see here some of you guys are saying it's been kind of slow. The friendly guy, 58 degrees and light rain over there in Greenville. All right. Oscar says, did you see the UFO here in San Diego? Oscar, guys, I got to keep my eye on the skies. I have not seen the UFO here in San Diego. That's probably for a good thing, right? I have not seen the UFO here in San Diego. Apparently there is one. Appreciate you joining, Oscar. Appreciate it. Ridiculous vape vlog, Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm new, but averaging about $20 an hour, doing nights and weekends. Big surge scheduled for tonight, 1.7x. Is that a guaranteed surge? Ridiculous vape vlog. I'd be curious to know. So guys, awesome. You guys are from all over. And if you're just jumping in here, we're talking New Year's Eve, guys. This is our mastermind. And really the goal here is in the next week or so, we're going to arm you with some past knowledge, some brainstorming for this year's New Year's Eve. We're going to talk about why it's important, how to study, and ultimately how much you should expect to earn when doing that research, okay? As we say, if you're sitting down to take a test and you don't study, you're probably going to fail. So this is your studying, or it's going to be prompting you to study for your own specific markets. Ridiculous says, yes, guarantee in Dinkytown. Okay, Minneapolis. We have a surge guarantee down there. William says, it's been really busy here in Montreal with snowstorms. I heard you guys are getting a little bit up there in Canada. Minus 25 degrees Celsius temperatures in the past week and some 3.5x surges. That's pretty solid. Hey, Jermaine from Buffalo, New York, welcome. I appreciate you joining. Guys, let's show you what we're talking about today. So as we just zoom into OBS right now, this is what we're talking about, of course. It is our live first ever New Year's 2018 Mastermind session. Your study session is going to help you best prepare, again, for coming weeks here. We really just have 1 week left for your preparation for New Year's Eve. We're jumping right in, guys. Thanks for joining. Again, if you're just jumping in, let me know where you're watching from. So why New Year's Eve? Okay, why? We had an entire live stream dedicated to Halloween, okay? Why are we having an entire live stream, an entire mastermind dedicated to New Year's Eve? And quick question for you guys. Please post this in the comments. If you're watching this live, or if you're watching this in the rebroadcast, answer this question. How long have you been driving for rideshare? Post right now, how long have you been driving? How many New Year's Eves have you driven? This is something I want to know. This will be my third. This will be my third New Year's Eve. So let me know how long you've been driving rideshare and how many New Year's Eves have you driven. So why New Year's Eve? Well, traditionally, if you don't know, it is the biggest earnings night of the year for rideshare. In that live stream that we did for Halloween, Halloween is a big earnings night. You can think of any other holiday, really. Some holidays, maybe 4th of July, right, can be good earnings potential, but New Year's Eve, year after year, every year, without fail, New Year's Eve is the biggest earnings night in rideshare. Why is it such a big deal? Why is it the biggest earnings night? Because during New Year's Eve, there's everything. Think of this. Halloween, what demographics go out for Halloween? What kind of passengers are requesting rides for Halloween? Okay, 6 p.m., 6 p.m., right? There's no real particular rides, right? That's the trick-or-treat hours for neighborhoods, per se, right? Now, there may be some, get-togethers, whatnot. But for Halloween, those rides are coming in at 9 p.m., 10 p.m. Students, younger passengers, for the most part, they're going out. It's a big party night in that weekend before Halloween. The big thing to remember with New Year's Eve is that this is across all passenger demographics. There's all types of events. There are parties, dinners, and more, again, across all passenger demographics. Okay, let's define what is a passenger demographic, right? To use Uber, you have to be 18 years of age or older. We're talking about the US here, really globally. 18 years of age or older. So anyone older than 18 can request an Uber, and anyone in that age group may need an Uber for New Year's Eve, but not necessarily for Halloween. Because again, there's so many events for anyone of any age. There's family and friends parties and dinners, right? There's dinners in your cultural district, downtown areas. Those younger people may be going to house parties, who knows? Everyone is moving around on New Year's Eve. That's what makes it so huge, which means more rides. Or is it? More rides, does that mean more surge and more prime time? What do you think? Another question for you, are there more rides for New Year's Eve? Probably an easy question, but does that mean more surge and prime time? And finally, guys, do you plan on driving? Let me know in the live chat right now. If you're watching the rebroadcast, let me know. Do you plan on driving? I do. I will be out there, guys. I will be out there. I'm actually coming back to San Diego from Pittsburgh that Sunday, the 31st. And I specifically made sure that flight is coming in early. I will most likely take a little time out, a little break, and recharge for that night. And we're going to talk about my strategy and your strategy as well. All right, guys, let's just jump back in with you here. All right, guys, let's catch up with you. Let's see what's going on. Hey, Francisco, thanks for joining as always. I appreciate it. Guys, Francisco is giving us some numbers right here. Made $399 last New Year's. Francisco, how many hours? I'm curious. And how many rides? That'd be interesting to know as well. Vegas Inner Circle 33, 9 months here in Vegas. That will be your first New Year's Eve. Pretty exciting. Rossi says, I've been driving it for 2 weeks. I'm new. Welcome to the platform. There's a lot of videos to help you out here because when done right, obviously, I mean, you can earn more. When done right, rideshare, it can earn you more. Now, there's different strategies if you're doing it full-time or part-time as well. All right, guys. Oscar, misunderstanding from an earlier comment on the UFO. It was a rocket launch, came from Vandenberg Air Force Base. Payload was satellites confirmed by CBS News 8 locally here in San Diego. Unfortunately, guys, we were hoping that was a UFO, right? I think that would make national news, wouldn't it? If that was a unidentified flying object, huh? Rossi says, yes, I'm planning on having dinner with my family and then go online. Yeah, guys, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about today, you can see right down here, what are the positives and negatives of driving for New Year's? Right? Isn't it all positive? Isn't it just making a ton of money and surge in prime time, or is it? Today we're going to be talking about the positives and negatives. All right, guys, back to it. And again, welcome to the Mastermind here, guys, as we prep for New Year's 2018. So guys, is it worth it? Simple question, is it worth it to be out driving? What do you think? Now, I am lucky enough to get some insight from some of your favorite rideshare YouTubers here in this mastermind. Let's see what some of these influencers have to say. Firstly, from Uberman, aka Randy Shear, 40K, 44K on YouTube. So Randy says, stay out of the congested areas. Okay, stay out of the congested downtown areas. Focus on the free-flowing suburbs. And when talking to Randy, he said it may not be worth it. Now, think about this. Is it worth it at all? Is it not worth it at certain times? Let's look into that. But what do you think about this? Randy says stay out of the congested downtown areas. And again, you want to focus on the free-flowing suburbs. And we're going to talk about this. And thanks for Randy for providing that insight. Okay, guys, so how are you going to prepare? How will you best prepare for, again, the biggest night in rideshare? Do your research now. Okay, it's Friday wherever you're at. It's Friday right now. So here's what you're going to do. What you should already be doing is looking at the Uber and Lyft app. Look at it as much as you want. You can keep it open if you'd like. I suggest at least every 15 minutes, minimum every 30 minutes, and look for those demand trends. And look ahead to see any earnings guarantees. Now, you may not see earnings guarantees yet for New Year's because that's a little bit too far in the future. But look at what's being offered now so you can at least get an idea if your market's getting incentives. Now, what does that mean? That means a boost. That means prime time guarantees, prime time zone guarantees. And then also, again, watch for organic surge in prime time at certain times. Open your app now. It's 6 p.m. here in the Pacific. Open the app every 15, 30 minutes. Look for those trends. Where is it? We've said before, okay, great. You see certain trends in certain areas. Why is surge coming from that area specifically? And if you've heard this before, that's why it's important. If you can't answer the question, why is surge specifically coming from that area, you're not ready. You need to know, okay, well, hey, I know there's an arena there. I know there's a strip of bars. And if you're a master, you'll say, I know exactly which bar it's most likely coming from. I know that people go to this bar and then they close at this bar at night. That's becoming a master of your city. So if you see surge in a completely, seemingly random area, you should know, okay, well, typically there's no surge there. And I know that that's a residential area. So I'm not going to bank on the fact that A, it's going to last very long, because it's probably a smaller pool of passengers that need rides. Okay, it's not a big arena. And then B, I'm not going to really count on that area in the future, because it's residential. I'll make a note of it because there may be some house parties out there, maybe a younger demographic or what have you, maybe. Okay, but I won't hang my hat on that. I won't rely on that, as I will other areas. So all in all, you need to have a top 5 to 10 hotspots in your market. What are some hotspots? You can see here the cultural district, event centers. We just mentioned bars, restaurants, theaters, campuses. And then again, if you already know your city, micromanage that and know exactly, okay, which campus building? Where are the students at? Now, well, most are away on break. So where is the off-campus housing if demand is coming from the university? And guys, pro tip right now is know where your cultural district is in your city. Know where the cultural district is because they are massive for New Year's Eve. Okay, what is your cultural district? That's where your theaters, your restaurants are, okay? That's the big main components of a cultural district. Theaters, restaurants, but we're going to center on the restaurants, of course. Now, there may be shows. You can look into that, look into that if there are shows. But for New Year's, I find a lot of affluent passengers, affluent meaning people who have some money to spend, they go to the cultural districts before midnight, or they may just continually be in that area and then go to a more, luxury club, what have you, for midnight. So if you want to find the affluent passengers, look at your cultural district, but don't neglect the suburbs. If you can say, hey, I already know my city. I know downtown. I've lived here for 20 years, 30 years plus. I know my city, okay? Do you know the suburbs? Do you know all the suburbs? Do you know the suburbs 30 minutes out of your city? It would be a safe bet to say, okay, I know the city, and I also know a 30-minute radius around my city, or more, depending on how widespread your market is, okay? This way you'll know, okay, I know such and such suburb has extremely expensive housing. This is an affluent area. I know this suburb has more young professionals that just graduated, more affordable housing, but they're still looking to go out a lot. Versus this suburb, I know it's a little bit more sleepy. It's established families that maybe they're not going to necessarily need rides out later in the evening. And again, if we go back to what Randy said, what Uberman said, his insight says to, check those free-flowing suburbs. Not only is it going to have less traffic, but that's where people are going to be coming from and then going into downtown, and then you can really travel all over downtown. We didn't even make it through this first slide yet, guys, because there's so much information. Let's just jump back in with you here. All right, guys. Hey, thanks for joining again. Let's see what you guys are saying. Julio says, hey, Julio, thanks for joining. This will be my first New Year's driving. Just kidding. Hoping to make lots of money. Good Boog, thanks for joining as always. Hey, Mike, 37 and raining there in Dallas, Fort Worth, guys. Ooh, burr. Good Boog says. That's pretty cold, guys. You're getting close to snow right there. Hey, Francisco says that was $399, 24 rides, 14 hours online. All right, let's run some numbers on that, Francisco. I appreciate you providing that insight as well. I know you don't have to provide your earnings. So guys, what Francisco did last New Year's, $399 on 24 rides. That's $16 on average a ride. That is exceptional. I always say, if you can get a ride averaging $10 or more, you're doing great, okay? If we can think of minimum fare as around $4, $4 or $5, you can imagine that an average fare of $10 or more, again, is exceptional and really is on a 2x surge or higher if you're hitting those kind of numbers, right? Given that the mileage, given that you're not getting, all long rides, which is probably not going to happen anyway. If you had a lot of long rides, you would have a higher average fare just because you're, charging the passenger more. But we're talking about actual demand trends and capturing those demand trends. Jen Joy, I'm completely butchering that name, says, hey, Mike, appreciate that. Thanks for joining. Yeah, Francisco confirmed more than half was surge. And that's the thing, guys, is if anything, out of this first part of this live stream, listen to this. The ideal situation is every single ride you take being surge at prime time. I think that stands to reason. If every ride could be surge at prime time, your earnings are going to be pretty good. This is the night where you might see that. This is the night, depending on when you go online, how you go online, every single ride may be surge or prime time. All right, guys, we're going back in. We're going back in talking about how to prepare. Remember this. The demand hours are going to be shifted earlier for New Year's Eve. Again, that may stand to reason, but if you think about the normal demand trends, okay, dinner, the crowd that doesn't want to go to the bars comes home. The younger demographic generally is going out to the bars, and they stay out until the bars close. And surge peaks around 2 a.m. or 4 a.m. depending on when your market closes their bars. Naturally, for New Year's Eve, that demand trend. That trend in the high and lows of surge is going to shift earlier, okay? So instead of going out at 9, 10 p.m. to the bars, you're going to have more passengers going out at 6 p.m., 7 p.m., because they may want to get dinner first, and then they're going to bounce over to their bars and clubs for New Year's. So you want to strategize traffic closures and gas fill-ups. One of the things that I caught myself missing, and let me know if you've caught yourself missing this too, is strategizing your gas fill-ups. Now, it's always advisable to not go online unless you really have a full tank of gas. If you're going to put 6 hours of driving in, try to have a full tank of gas, at least 3/4 of a tank. Naturally, you don't want to be stuck in the highest demand peaks and having to stop for gas. And I have done it, and it is like every second is an hour because you just want to be online and you're stuck filling up a tank whenever you're sitting in a Ford X or what have you. So look now, and in the next week or so, your local news, okay? Make sure to follow your local news on Facebook, whatever it may be, their website, and find those road closures, if there are closures, okay? But for instance, the city of Pittsburgh, where I just moved from a couple months ago, Pittsburgh closed their largest bar area, the south side, basically all inbound traffic from all the major roads. I forget on the top of my head what the event was. It may have been Stanley Cup, I can't remember. But for New Year's, those are the kind of things you want to look for. If it says all inbound traffic to so-and-so closes at 11:30 p.m., right? Because they know that they're going to have a flooding of people, maybe people in the streets when it hits midnight, etc. I don't know, but I've seen it happen. So strategize those road closures now and your gas fill-ups. And make sure your documentation is up to date. One of those little things that if Uber or Lyft are telling you right now that you have out-of-date documentation, put it in now. Please put it in now. Now, with one of the improvements to Uber in their 180 days of change, early in the program, I believe, they stated they're going to have 2-hour approvals, is what I believe I remember reading. So in practice, you would think that your document's going to get approved almost instantly, right, within the same day, but don't rely on it. So if your documentation is out of date, get it up to date now. Talking about demand trends and shifts. And I know this may be a little small on the actual map itself if you're watching this on the live stream, but we're going to go over the generalities of this, okay? What you're looking at is an Uber announcement from last year, from 2016, showing the city of Pittsburgh, the downtown area, and surrounding areas. And this is provided from Uber. Now, Uber has not sent out a 2017-18 email yet. Most likely it's going to come next week. But this is what they sent last year. Let's look on the left. Before midnight, high request areas. If we start from the left to the right, you can see those two circles. The bottom of which is the center of downtown. The smaller top area is kind of the cultural district, strip district, a lot of restaurants, some clubs up there. You can see the large elongated oval at the bottom. That is the biggest bar area in Pittsburgh. Tons of bars, the hottest spot really for people to go out in numbers. Above that, university area, okay? University area, kind of a center city area. And on the far right is a kind of an affluent area of the city with another kind of popular strip of bars, a smaller strip of bars. Let's move over to the right side. After midnight, high requests areas. Note here, if we look on the right side this time, that affluent area we just highlighted with the smaller strip of bars is gone. Because it is kind of a more residential area still, even though they have some bars. people don't really stay there for midnight. Notice that the demand trend is gone for that area. Moving over to the middle of the map, the smallest circle is in the heart of the Strip District. Those are where some of the big clubs are. The bigger clubs in the city of Pittsburgh, you can see people are going to be going from downtown. Notice how our center downtown demand area is gone because some of those passengers have traveled to that Strip District area for those larger clubs. At the bottom of the map, we can still see the biggest area for bars in Pittsburgh is still circled because, I mean, again, it's the biggest area of bars. That area is never going to change, but also battles over saturation. And on the far left, we can see the North Shore. That is kind of our sports area of the city with some arenas and stadiums. There are some popular bars over there. So this is what Uber has shown. Uber has confirmed this as well. What we're talking about right now is demand trends are going to shift throughout the night. You gotta have, again, 5 to 10 hotspots. Write it down if you need to, which is fine. Write down specifics within each list. Coming back to you guys. All right, guys, so let's catch up with you. And again, thanks for joining. Really appreciate it. Jen Joy says that it might be snowing here on New Year's Eve. If not, the 2 nights before will be most likely. Interesting, guys. If you're in a market that's expecting bad weather for New Year's, let me know. Because there's specific strategies you will need to do for that. And prepare your vehicle. And always drive safely, of course. Rideshare 2K, thanks for joining. I appreciate you being in here again. Airport surges also because of the riders are out and not sitting at the airport. Because all of the riders are out and not sitting at the airport. Yeah, and something to note, guys, is as people may be coming in for the holidays, if you do those airport runs, you may see it being a little bit more busy because of that, because of the holiday travel. Good point. Rideshare 2K says drivers. Okay, because drivers are not sitting at the airport. Francisco says that New Year's was my most money made in one day. Francisco citing that $399 on New Year's. And if you guys are interested, we're going to talk about earnings as well. Okay, guys, so we noted what Uber told us. Well, what does Lyft recommend? Let's see what some of the rideshare companies recommend for New Year's. Now, what you're looking at right now is last year's 2016 New Year's Eve game plan, as they're calling it. And look at the date at the top right, December 20th. So interesting that we haven't gotten anything from Uber yet. It should be around that time again. We're not going to run through all of this. Feel free to pause it after we're done with the live stream if you want to go into this in full. But let's look this over. Look what they note for number 1, guys. Know your city's hot zones. One of the biggest things that we're hinging on tonight is knowing those hot zones. You need to know the hot zones. And again, feel free to micromanage it. Where within those hot zones? Number 2, gear up. They're saying here, keep your phone charger handy and consider investing in an extra cord. Your passengers will appreciate having a full battery to request a ride home after the party too. Guys, we have done a video on a pretty neat power bank, a universal power bank for passengers called the PowerPod, POWAPOD, PowerPod. We've done a video on that. I'll link it above in the rebroadcast. It's a nice multi-purpose unit that has 3 different charging cables for your passengers. If you do want something, right? Number 3, setting the mood with music. And they're noting here an aux cord and playlist. Again, I'm never a fan of aux cords. Never have been. I don't provide one to my passengers. Now, I do have one, but for exceptionally high surge, I'll tell you this, guys, for exceptionally high surge, 3x or higher, by all means they can use it because they're paying a premium if they ask. I don't offer it outright, but if a passenger is paying a premium on a 3x surge or higher, let's say, and they ask for it, I will give it to them because, again, they're kind of paying a premium at that point. Number 4, show you're with Lyft. They just want to make sure you have the correct trade address, whether it be an amp, a sticker. They note the airport there as well. And you can see here on the right, guys, the animation that we had up. Let's see if we can, there we go, get it to play again for you guys. That animation on the top right is from that new Lyft amp, and that is new. That messaging, guys, for those of you that have the amp, there is going to be some custom messaging on there for New Year's. Just a heads up for you guys. Number 5, get in the zone by watching June. That was a video that they did in the past, kind of talking about the engagement, kind of personal side of rideshare and Lyft. Number 6, know your safety nets. The critical response line is available 24/7 for emergencies, and they give you a phone number there. And I believe they do still have that, a critical response team. But it may be a good point to note as well, if you do have AAA, something like that, make sure your membership is up to date, just in case you do have any road problems, okay? And you don't have, let's say, a spare tire or what have you, or if you need assistance from AAA, maybe a good thing to note right here just to make sure you have anything like that up to date as well. Number 7, earn more by growing the Lyft community. This references referrals. And we did do a video on Lyft referrals. Lyft does have a Vistaprint referral page, which I think is pretty neat. I would kind of like to see Uber do something like that as well, where you can get Lyft branded marketing materials for your referrals. What you'll do is put your referral code on those wallet cards or a postcard or even other materials if you'd like, if you want to solicit referrals for new passengers or drivers. Number 8, cash out instantly with Express Pay, a new feature at the time. We all know what Express Pay is. You can get your money instantly for just 50 cents. Number 9, share your adventures. They're just saying that we want to hear about your stories, and they list an email there. And finally, number 10, pat yourself on the back because you're driving on New Year's, and why not? It's been a great year, they say. Okay, so that's a little bit of insight from Lyft. Let's see what you guys are saying here in the comments. And Timothy is referencing someone in the live chat, looks like. Oh, okay. He says, hey, Aaron, what's up? Just kidding, Mike. Hope all is well, brother. Happy holidays to all from Milwaukee. Thanks for joining, Timothy. I appreciate it. Referencing Aaron, your personal driver. It'd be nice to see some of those guys in here. Maybe we can get Kevin, the entrepreneur, in here, or if Aaron, your personal driver, is jumping on the live stream, that'd be pretty cool as well, guys. And hey, feel free at any time, feel free to post any questions that you have. We've got about 20, 30 minutes left. So feel free, even though we're going through these slides for you guys, if you do have any even market-specific questions, I know a lot of you are new to New Year's, feel free to post the questions right here. And if you could, guys, just between you and me watching this, if you're watching this live, or if you're watching this on the rebroadcast, and I know that those of you that have watched the live stream before, you're going to say, like, okay, I know what's coming. Yeah, I know, but just between you and me, if you could leave a like on this live stream, it looks like this. Shows me that you get value in these live streams, in the videos on this channel, gets more people in here, more eyes, more people on the Your Driver Mike team, and of course, it does one more thing. It boosts us in YouTube's almighty algorithm, guys. It boosts us up in their algorithm, and who doesn't want that? If you can leave a quick like, if you would like to do so, I'd really appreciate it. Okay, guys, so jumping back in, let's do it. So if you guys are familiar with Ezra, the rideshare genius, more insight for you from some of your favorite YouTubers in the rideshare space. This from Ezra, the rideshare genius. And this actually came within Harry, the rideshare guy's live stream, I think it was a couple days ago. This is what Ezra had to say about New Year's. You want to evaluate Uber and Lyft's incentives ahead of time versus, seeing how the demand is and then decide. So what he was saying here is look for those incentives, like we mentioned earlier, guys, in this stream. Look for any incentives coming through from Uber and Lyft. Evaluate that, compare that against the native surge in prime time, and then decide which one is worth going after. Is it worth it based on the trends that you're seeing that night? Is it worth it to go for either of those incentives? Or are you going to play it out for an organic, natural surge in prime time? Interesting. And hey guys, right now, let me know if anyone's received any incentives from Uber and Lyft. I have not received anything specifically for New Year's, but I'd be curious if anyone received any New Year's promotions already. Another influencer that we just talked about, guys, of course, it is Harry, the rideshare guy. Very good live stream, guys, by the way. Harry does a monthly live stream for drivers, anyone really in the rideshare space. And Harry, when commenting in his last live stream about New Year's, said waiting it out is when the 5X, 6X, and 7X comes out. Waiting it out. And here's something interesting I want to share with you guys. Let's talk about this. How hard is it to wait it out? How hard is it when you see a 4.5x? Guys, for those of you that are new, anyone that's a first New Year's, listen up. You may see a 4.5x. But like Harry says here, waiting it out is when the 5, 6, and 7x comes out. You say, 7x is not even possible. It is. 10x is possible. Now we're going to talk about how possible is it. But waiting it out can maybe get you even more. Versus if you get excited and you say, I've never seen a 4.5x in my market before. It's normally a 2.0. It's normally a 2.5 when the bars close. I see a 5x. Should you go online? Maybe or maybe not. So question for you, and I need to hear this in the live chat, if you're watching this in the rebroadcast, in the comments section, how much do you anticipate earning per hour? For New Year's Eve, based on all the stories that you've heard, based on all the years that you may have driven New Year's, different thoughts, how much do you anticipate earning per hour? Let me know right now in the live chat. A, $20 an hour, maximum. B, $30 an hour. C, $40 an hour. Or D, do you anticipate earning $50 an hour or more for New Year's Eve? Let me know right now in the comments here. I'm going to give you just a minute and I'm going to give you my answer here. And we're going to talk about what my expectations are on a normal night versus my expectations on New Year's Eve. How much do you anticipate earning per hour? Another second here, guys. I want to jump right back in with you guys. So guys, Gina says B. Hey, thanks for joining. I appreciate it. $30 an hour. Gina says B, anticipating $30 an hour. Catching up, guys. Gina says, is it busy at all? I have to mess up once, guys. It's not a live stream unless we mess up once. It's happening live right now, by the way, guys. Right now, we are live. So Gina says, is it busy on all markets on New Year's Eve? I would cautiously say yes. Right off the top of my head, I would say yes. Absolutely. Now, if you're in a micro market, if you're in a very small market, okay, and who define that how you like, but if you're in what you would think would be a micro market, one of the smallest markets, maybe not. I don't know, because then you may have a lot of drivers in your smaller city, and that may lead to saturation. I'm not sure, right? It is very market specific, but generally, yeah, this is the biggest night in rideshare. If we're just going high level, I would say yes. Okay, guys. Timothy says, always thumbs up. I appreciate that, Timothy. Timothy says, Mike, I've seen some pretty interesting interviews with Uber executives. Uberman, Ezra, I believe Rachel Holt. It was, I think, yeah, with Rachel, as well as Aaron Schlidkraut, who's no longer with the company. Your thoughts? I haven't watched them in full because each interview is a part of pretty much a 4-part series, and each video within those series are about, I think, like 15 minutes or so. So I haven't watched them all in full, but predictable. I'd say predictable for now. It's it's kind of the dialogue you would expect. Kind of. I do appreciate Uber giving creators the opportunity to come in. I think that's pretty cool, and we have seen the new driver advisory forum, which is coming up as well, where Uber is going to try to give drivers a voice and actually speak again with Uber executives. So I do need to watch the rest of them in full. But Timothy says, Mike, I remember 2 or 3 years ago in Milwaukee on New Year's night, 14x. Crazy. Got 14x. What's the highest surge multiplier you've seen? If anyone's driven New Year's Eve before, let me know. 14x. I think that might be the highest I've heard of. I've heard of 12x in New York. Okay. And Pittsburgh hit 8.8. 8.8, guys. 8.8x last year. This was just 1 year ago, guys. Okay. You may hear drivers saying, well, I've driven for 5 years and the surge has gone down and down and down on New Year's. Just last year was 8.8 in Pittsburgh, guys. And Pittsburgh's a medium-sized market. It's not a huge market, but I mean, that's exceptional. Those are the kind of earnings you're talking about. And let's do some quick math here, guys. 8.8. I'm going to say rates were still 105 at the time, I believe. That's $9.24 a mile for 1 mile. If you're going anywhere in that city, you're going to get a good fare. So 14x from Timothy. That is exceptional. And Francisco says, keep in mind that higher surges are when riders are not going far. Could be true, guys, or is it a little something for you to hang on this live stream? I have something really interesting to show you guys. Really interesting that talks about that exact point. That the riders that accept exceptionally high surge, they're not going very far. They're going a couple blocks down the road. They live in the bar area. It's not going to give you that much money. There's twofold to that, though. There's some really good points to be made about that. And it's true, but there's some good points there as well. Hey, Frank, thanks for joining. Frank says, hey, Mike. Malcolm says, in Sacramento last year, the highest it got was 7.0. 7.0 is still very good. I would say 7.0 is, again, still very good. Unless you're in Orlando or Oklahoma City where rates are like 65 cents a mile, then 7.0 may not be very good. Let's run the numbers on that real quick. It's $4.55 a mile. I would like to see more than that. Depends on the miles. Depends on the rate per mile there. Let's see. Gina says, have you heard of Fort Myers, Florida stats for New Year's? I have not. I have not seen really many market-specific stats, but we're just in talking to other drivers and reading what other drivers have said in the past about New Year's and seeing some screenshots. You can anticipate pretty big demand basically everywhere, generally. You guys are flying in the comments, so we're trying to keep up here. Rideshare 2K says, higher surges means no 5-star ratings because they are mad. They have to pay the higher price. And guys, again, just between you and me, it does not matter. It does not matter. I will take a 2-star all day because they were upset about surge. Here's another thing. You don't got to worry about it. You don't have to worry about it because hopefully ratings protection. As part of Uber's 180 days of change, they instilled ratings protections. If they give you a bad rating because of surge, it doesn't matter. And Uber will not take that into consideration against your rating. But honestly, even if they did, it doesn't matter. Because you want to make some profit, you're out there on New Year's, and there's some pros and cons to that. But I wouldn't even care, honestly. Just for that one night, it wouldn't matter. And let's see, Timothy says, it was truly unbelievable. Yeah, Milwaukee, a city size of about 700,000, and metro area are another 800,000. So there is demand. I would say so. That's a good populace there. Absolutely. Francisco says, that's why I go for a medium surge. Usually it goes farther. And the money comes from the miles, everyone. Yeah, like Francisco says, guys, important point is your earnings come from the miles. The miles pay, the time sitting in traffic, it doesn't pay if you're in a market that has that. Okay, guys, so let's keep it rolling here because we have a lot to talk about. Okay. I would say I anticipate earning, I need at least $40 an hour. I want at least $40 an hour. There will be times in the night where I expect to hit $50 an hour. If I don't, that's really not successful for me. This is my first time in San Diego driving New Year's, so I'm hoping this would be the case. We will see. Normally when I drive, I would love to hit $30 an hour. At least in Pittsburgh, I would always try to hit $30 an hour on surge runs. 40 or 50 plus is what I anticipate for New Year's. So what does Uber recommend? We talked about what Lyft recommends. What does Uber recommend? This is also from an announcement last year, and we're going to go through this pretty quickly. We're here to help. For any questions or concerns, it says contact in-app help or go to help.uber.com. The perfect 2016 station, celebrate the start of 2017, etc., etc. You get the point. They want you to play music for passengers. Pro tips from partners like you. Mid says, people are celebrating, having a good time. Keep the conversation light and funny. Tom says, know your surroundings. And Paul says, always ask your rider to confirm the address where they're going. I think, guys, Paul hit the nail on the head. Good job, Paul, from last year's announcement. Always ask the rider to confirm the address where they're going. And you may even want to show them on the phone. Why? Because I had someone going to, 123 Red Street, but there were two 123 Red Streets in Pittsburgh. And in his excitement from the bar, he didn't check it was the right 123 Red Street, and we went to the wrong one once he finally realized we're headed in the right direction. And then we had to re-enter it to the correct actual destination. Now, I did confirm. I said, hey, are we going to 123 Red Street? He says yes. But that's why now, especially if it's a far ride, you may want to show them the actual phone. Or sometimes what I would say is, okay, so we're going to 123 Red Street in Etna, PA. Is that correct? Just to make sure. Especially if it's a road that seems familiar, 123 Apple Street. Okay, we're going to 123 Apple Street in Verona. Is that correct? Because then if the area is wrong, then they'll know that. Good job, Paul. So we've seen this a little bit earlier tonight, but the highest earnings are going to be between 12 a.m. and 3 a.m. I don't think that's any surprise. Disregard the text there. New Year's falls on a Sunday this year. This is from last year again. So what are you going to expect? In the announcement from last year, you can see we're anticipating two big spikes in trip requests before and after midnight, naturally. Well, let me give you a little bit more insight. There's going to be two big waves of demand. I echo that from Uber. Here's how you're going to plan your night, generally. 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., it's going to start. 6 p.m., and you can experiment, guys. Look at the app. It may surge earlier. Look at the app, have them open. 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., if you live in the suburbs, stay there. You will get a ride downtown. You will get those miles paid for. People in the suburbs are going to be heading downtown for dinner, hanging out with friends for parties, and then going out to the bars and clubs. Colleges, the students, the ones that are still in the area, are going to be bouncing around between their parties. Additionally, in the suburbs, you're going to have friends who are in for the holidays, still around for the holidays, possibly, visiting friends and going to their parties. Naturally, you know that 12 a.m. to 3 a.m., just like Uber told us, that's our second wave. Here, again, those cultural districts, downtown, obviously, the clubs. Extremely obvious, the clubs. Here's your refuel and break time. Your break time is going to be from that 10 p.m. until 10:45. If you need to fill up on gas, do so. Stretch your legs, get some food. Think about your strategy, review your rides, review your trends, think about what's happened already in the night. Okay, well, you know what? Downtown's not that busy. It's not as busy as I thought it would be. But the bar area is actually a lot busier than I thought. So strategize here. Get some food. You need to eat, by the way, guys. Something I would always find on the road is, you get super hungry, and then you start thinking about food more so than driving, and you may have to stop for food because you're so hungry. And again, you may miss some surge. So if you guys pack something, if you pack a lunch or a dinner, go for it. That's fine. Or if you want to take a break, feel free to do so. I'd say 10 p.m. until 10:45. Here's a tip. Midnight is not the time to go online. Do not go online at midnight. Do not. If you look at the demand map to the right from last year from Uber, look at midnight. Remember, that's the start of the demand peak. Okay, you need to know when to jump online. Around 12:15 is when you want to go for that 5x plus. That should be your goal. I think most markets, they better hit 5x plus. Doesn't matter the rates. Does not matter the rates. Maybe New York is a little different, maybe because they're higher rates. But most markets, they should be giving drivers a 5x plus. So look for the growth to start at midnight, but do not go online at midnight. 12:05, look at the app. Keep that app open, but not online. 12:10, 12:15, maybe even a little bit later, and capitalize on the biggest demand trends. Caveat here is I will state, just for systems reasons, that you may not want to take all surge rides if you can help it. As you may know, there was some controversy of some drivers being deactivated for just taking surge runs. I haven't heard much since then, so I'm not going to sit here and advocate all surge runs, but what happens in practice, hey, run your business smartly. I've always advocated capitalizing on those demand trends, and I will most likely continue doing that, but everyone strategize as you see fit out there. Just a heads up for everyone for New Year's Eve. But do not go online at midnight necessarily. All right, guys, let's follow up with you. All right, guys, so are you basing these rates on bar closing time? For the most part, yes. Well, not necessarily bar closing time, but for New Year's Eve, we're basing it off of the ball drop at midnight. So you can think of, here, let's just jump back in real quick to show you. So you can think of right here, as you can see, this 12 a.m. when the ball drops, people are going to celebrate, but right here, passengers are going to be saying, oh, we were just staying for the ball drop, we celebrated, but we want to get back home before it gets too crazy. We want to get back before, people are staying until, we're not trying to stay until 2 a.m. So that's what we're basing this peak off of. But yes, there will be another smaller peak, but it's still a pretty sizable peak at 2 a.m. when the bars close. But yeah, for New Year's, we are basing the highest demand after midnight, and then again, maybe at 2 a.m. or 4 a.m., depending on when your bars close. Gina says, or all throughout the night pickups and late night pickups. Gina says, if you're asking, will there be demand throughout the entire night? Yeah. Whenever we cited the 6 p.m. until 10 p.m., that is not necessarily based on the bars. It's based off of everything, where demand is going to come from, the restaurant trips, friends meeting up, family get-togethers, etc. For the earlier demand times. Friend Cisco says, also always check the back seat to make sure there are no lost items. Yes, guys, one of the number one things, and I appreciate Francisco bringing this up again, the number one thing that I would always say on this channel when driving is after every ride, check the back seat. Yeah, you gotta check the back seat. I have checked many times when I have seen a purse or a phone, especially if they've been out partying and they're sitting and the phone just slips out while they're sitting and they don't see it, they just get up to go leave. Don't pull away. While you're dropping them off, you're in park, turn around and check the back seat for any items and look at the ground too and see if anything fell on the ground as well. That's a good point. Check the back seat. Now, Uber does have the $15 fee to return items, but save yourself some of the headache there. So some of the positives and negatives of driving, guys. If you plan on driving, positives. There's a potential for a 4x to 10x surges in some markets. We just saw a 14x in Milwaukee last year, guys. It's out there. It's real. If this is new for you guys, your first New Year's Eve, it's out there. I say potential because it's not a guarantee. It's not a guarantee. There's a potential for 4x or 10x in some markets. Guys, there's earnings upwards of $100 an hour. Asterisk, big disclaimer, that's not typical. It's not a guarantee of your earnings, but there's a potential sometimes to hit the grand slam for $100 an hour. Because of these demands in surge and prime time, you can be driving really minimal miles for maximum profit, so you're minimizing your expenses as well. There could be a higher tips, guys. Higher tips because passengers are in a good mood, and who wouldn't be? Just like Halloween, people are out to have a good time, as they should be. It should be a good night. It should be a fun night, guys. Passengers should be in good mood, a good mood to tip. And there is a potential for specific New Year's Eve earnings incentives from Uber and Lyft as well. Some of the negatives. There can't possibly be negatives, right? There are a few negatives. There's no guarantee of exceptional surge. There's always earnings versus saturation. What are you actually going to earn when all these drivers go online versus battling saturation? Every single year, more and more drivers try rideshare, but there's also a very high turnover. I always reiterate that to people who argue over saturation. There's only a 4% retention rate on Uber year over year, a 4%, which means 96% of Uber drivers fall off the platform after 1 year. But some markets may battle saturation, especially for New Year's, guys. Someone who hasn't driven in a few weeks, maybe they want to drive for New Year's, keep that in mind. Of course, you're missing the holiday experience. Time away from family and friends because you're driving. And of course, there is more intoxicated passengers. There's a higher risk for sickness with your passengers or passengers getting into fights, not necessarily with you, with themselves, typically is what I see. So there is a higher risk of that on this big party weekend. And there's potential stress and fatigue. You know, if you don't typically drive these later hours, if you're not typically out there until 2 a.m., that may give you a little bit more stress and fatigue because you're not used to being out there driving that late. And there's more traffic, possibly more road closures. And guys, a real consideration is there's more potential of DUIs on the road that are drivers who are driving drunk on the road. Please be safe out there. Be exceptionally defensive on the road. One of the big things I'm always aware of is during light changes at an intersection, right? You're sitting at a red light, your light turns green. Take an extra half second, make sure no one's approaching the intersection that's gonna fly through that red light, okay? That can be very dangerous. I actually just saw that today, is a vehicle went extremely through a red light after the light had changed for at least a couple seconds, okay? So be aware, be exceptionally defensive on the road. As we close up this live stream, guys, let's look at some numbers. Who doesn't want to see some numbers from New Year's Eve? Show me the numbers, guys. Great advice, but come on, how much can you really earn? Let's take a look. Here are some of my rides from years past. 2015, guys, note at the top, Thursday, December 31st, 10:23 p.m. This was a 6.74 mile ride that yielded $58. The fare was $13.50. But the surge was $59. $59 on this ride, guys. $58 for just 20 minutes of my time. Now, it's not feasible that we calculate this, but hey, let's do it anyway. $174 an hour. Trending if I continue with rides like that. $58 for just 20 minutes of my time on a 6-mile ride. That cost me about $3 to do, based on our deduction. Now, make a note here, 2015, as you can see, rates were $120 a mile. They were lowered the following month, so I did extend the fare breakdown so you guys can see. So guys, do you want to see something exceptional and rare? Don't leave this live stream. If you thought about it just now, don't do it. If you just joined, you want to see this. You just heard me say there's a potential for $100 an hour. $100 an hour? How is that possible? We saw earlier today, someone cited 14x. 14x. There's a potential for 4 to 10x. Okay, Mike, show us what are you talking about. This run right here. To date, my most profitable run I believe I've ever had on the Uber platform. Make a note of the time. 11 p.m. Again, this is after our little break session, you know, food and filling up for gas. 11 p.m. A 9-mile ride for 25 minutes. $106 payout. $200 an hour, trending. $106 for a 9-mile ride, 25 minutes. Surge was $115 on this. I remember this ride. It was a group, and you can always reiterate that yes, it's going to be expensive, guys. Yes. But the thing is you have a split fare feature. Go into your app right now while we're on the ride. Text an invite to your friends right now saying, hey, can you split this fare with me? So It's 106 divided by 4 people. Would you safely get home from your night of partying and drinking? Perhaps. This group was. They were out, partying and drinking. Is a safe ride home to your doorstep worth $26 per person? That's how you want to frame that. Guys, it's going to be expensive. Split the ride. It'll be affordable. 9 miles of 106, it seems like a lot of money. And it is a lot of money if one person had to pay it. Split the ride. Guys, a safe ride home for each of you is $26. And this is what you can tell your passengers as well. Guys, you're not paying for a ride. You're paying for a ride right now. And you're taking my car off of the platform when there are thousands, maybe 10,000 plus people in this city that need a ride. Only one person gets my car at this moment in time, and that is you. One person gets my car, and you guys got my car as your private ride, a safe ride home for $26. Catching up with you guys. Guys, we still have 2016. Don't go anywhere. We still have earnings from 2016 from last year. Let's show you some of our big rides from last year, guys. Catching up with you. Let's see. Francisco says, also expect people trying to clown car you guys. What Francisco means is trying to fit 5 people or more in your 4-seat Uber X vehicle, or 7 people in an Uber XL, I believe is the threshold. Is it 6, I believe? But you get the point. Do not move that car if they're trying to fit more people than you can legally hold. Not worth it. Doesn't matter the surge, not worth it. Francisco says, and the drunk people trying to get in your car, that's not their ride. Keep the doors locked until you confirm your passenger. Okay, doors stay locked. Someone tries to open it, knocks on your window, it doesn't matter. Roll the window down just enough to talk to them and say, what's the ride under? What's the ride name under? And they'll know that name. And they need to know that name, or they cannot come in. Or you can ask them, what's your driver's name? What's my name? Okay, if they don't know the ride, they should be able to pull it up on their app. Someone should. Maybe they're not the person that requested it, but someone should. And if they can't do that, it's not the right ride, or they may be the right ride, but someone's got to provide that info first. JF Kansas has some funny comparisons here on our New Year's Eve earnings. Guys, there's some good earnings out there. Gina says, the smaller markets do not get promotions from Uber. You may not necessarily need promotions. We'll have to see what the organic surge in prime time do in some of those markets. Gina says, all these prices are in the bigger markets. And yes, you need to find out, guys, if you're in a smaller market, is, again, where is the demand going to come from? How is saturation in my market? Should I expect a 4 to 6x plus surge? Maybe not. Okay, I told you that a 10x is not guaranteed. 14x is certainly not guaranteed. Guys, in Pittsburgh, it hit 8.8. Okay, you can maybe judge accordingly. Okay, if you're in a city half the size of Pittsburgh, maybe you'll get a 4.4. Okay, and that's completely fine. I think a 4.4, if you're in a smaller market, is still pretty good, because you're only going to really see a 2.0x traditionally. So you do have to weigh the cost benefits, the size of your market versus what traditionally you see for a surge of prime time. Gina says, how can I find all this information for previously on my market? Is available from Uber? It is not, unfortunately. If this is your first time driving New Year's Eve, guys, Uber does not really provide you any trends, any analysis, any data. What you can do, however, is you may be able to find previous websites. Okay, literally that's what it is. Websites from previous years. If you type in Uber Pittsburgh New Year's Eve, that's how I was able to find the New Year's Eve guide for 2016. Now, I also had it in my emails, but try that. type in Uber, Kansas, 2016 New Year's, and see if you can find an old website that they still have live. And maybe you can go back even further, 2015 New Year's, Kansas, and see if they still have that website live. They have so many web pages within Uber that sometimes some of those are still live. So you may be able to get some info that way. Gina says, thanks, I will try that. Yeah, that's a good, definitely try it. That's what I did today is, even with Lyft as well, right? Lyft, 2016, New Year's, Pittsburgh, to try to find that driver guide, something like that. And then sometimes within there, to your point about analytics, sometimes in those emails, in those websites rather, you can see some analytics. They'll show you some data. Sometimes, not always though. Frank says, will Uber give me a smartphone? I don't have one now. I don't believe they will, Frank. In the past, Uber did provide smartphones to their drivers. Now, I'm not aware of any program that would do so. You may want to always reach out to Uber support on Twitter. Maybe a good idea there. And you can ask within their the help section on Twitter. Doesn't hurt to ask. Or even go into the Greenlight Help location. It does not hurt to ask. All they're going to say is no, and at least you know going forward. Jeff Kansas says, when are you going to be crypto, Mike? Cryptocurrency, guys, I'm already invested in cryptocurrency. We haven't really talked about it on the channel here because I'm not an expert whatsoever in cryptocurrencies. I have invested a little bit in crypto, but it's purely experimental level. I have not done a lot of research, and I've only invested a very, very small amount just to see how it does. As you may have seen recently, crypto kind of crashed a little bit today. Still profitable, but that's why we haven't really talked about it. I can't really talk about it just because my knowledge base isn't really there. And let's see. Gina says, so glad you do your videos. You have been a great guide and a lot of help. I appreciate that. And it's an exciting time because if you guys can earn $40+ an hour, that's fantastic. So if some of these tips help you earn $40+ an hour, that'd be fantastic because you may have earned $25 an hour. But because, again, you waited at midnight or something like that, you may have earned much more, okay? And again, disclaimer, there's no guarantee that you're going to earn that money, but I hope you can with some of these tips. Okay, lastly, guys, let's go into 2016, last year's earnings. I didn't find super exceptional runs last year. Something to consider. But let's look at this. When it comes to profitability, guys, you can't get much better than this run. 1.67 miles. That took just 6 minutes and 30 seconds. It took about 7 minutes and we made $34. We need to do the math on this, guys. When it comes to pure margins, this was one of our best runs. Trending at $313 an hour. Of course, that's neither here nor there. We were just simply providing that as an example. If we continued on runs like this, but $34 in just 6 minutes, 30 seconds for under 2 miles. And if you're familiar with Pittsburgh, guys, this run is literally up a hill. It is up a hill, and as soon as you crest the hill, that's where this drop-off was. And that's it. We went from the bar area, we went up a hill, and that's all that the ride was. 6 minutes, $34. This next run, guys, not as profitable, but note the time, 11:13 p.m., 5 miles, 13 minutes approximately. We did $23. Note here the surge, $21. Regardless, guys, regardless, just these two runs that were literally 11 minutes apart. Let's run the numbers real quick. Guys, runs that were 11 minutes apart, 2 rides out of the entire night, $57. And it took what? 20 minutes for both runs? $57 for about 20-some minutes of driving. And we put 6 miles on our car for $57. That's what I hope everyone sees for New Year's. No guarantee, but I hope your market has the exact demand trends that we're talking about, surge, prime time, incentive, what have you, to show these kind of numbers. And guys, that is it for this presentation on this New Year's Eve live stream. So at this point, guys, let's open it up to your questions here for just a few minutes. And I do hope you got value from that. And when you're watching this, if you're watching this on the rebroadcast, or if you missed any of the earlier sections in this live stream, rewatch it. If you already watched this, watch it next week, okay? And go over these notes, because you may not, okay, I forget the 2 waves in demand, or I forget exactly what I had to do to prepare. Rewatch this if you'd like, and pull some of your notes, some of your preparation from this live stream. So feel free. Right now, we are live coming to you from San Diego, California. Feel free to post your comments right now in the live chat. While you do so, guys, while you do that, while you post your questions, if you could, you know what to do. If you haven't done so already, can you please leave a like on this live stream? Shows me that you get value in this live stream. This one and the videos on this channel gets more people in here, more eyes on the channel, more people on the Your Driver Mike team. And one more thing it does, of course, it does one more thing. It boosts us in YouTube's almighty algorithm. We need that, guys. We need to be boosted in the algorithm. Why not? Why not? So if you could leave a quick like on this live stream, I really appreciate it, guys. Any questions? Mitch, hey, thanks for joining. I appreciate it. Mitch says, have you heard good things about upstate New York? Well, here's the thing about upstate New York is it's new, right? Upstate New York just got Uber this year, from my understanding. So this is Uber's first New Year's Eve for those areas of New York. Obviously, they've already been in New York City, but the surrounding area, upstate, just got Uber. So here's what I'll say about that. Is very, very vaguely familiar with the area, living in Pittsburgh. I would be a little bit cautious about that market because it's new and maybe it's rural. Again, I'm not sure exactly what's in the entire surrounding area, but watch out if you're in a more rural area, because since Uber's new, not everyone knows about it, or people who do know about it, maybe they haven't quite signed up yet, maybe they're not really trying it just yet. On the other side of the coin is New Year's is when they may try it. Say, you know what, I need a ride. I don't want to drive. Okay, does anyone want to be DD? No one really wants to be the designated driver. So that's when passengers may be signing up for the Uber app in droves, if you can. If there's any community boards in your area, get some referral cards if you can. If there's anything you can do to get your referral code out there, because it is a newer, maturing market, and maybe some room to get some passenger referrals, unlike other markets that are already saturated. Mitch says 300,000 people and gentrification is happening. Yeah, based on the areas. Again, not specifically familiar, with all the areas up there. If there are some larger cities, then absolutely, I would go there. But first, if you live outside the city, 30 minutes or so, try to get that ride into the city so those dead miles are paid for. But yeah, and especially if you're citing gentrification, there may be a younger demographic that's astute to rideshare, that they're used to it. I'm not sure, but you also may do pretty well, because since Uber is new to the area, there may not be as many drivers as well. Something to consider. Appreciate that question. Any other questions, guys? As we wrap it up, I really appreciate you joining this live. It's a good live stream, guys. We're going for a good, let's see, almost an hour and a half, huh? About an hour and a half, yes. Any other final questions as we wrap it up here, guys? New Year's, I hope this was beneficial to you. I will be out there. My strategy is about 5, 6 p.m., just like what I mapped out. Probably going until about 10 p.m. Yeah, we'll take that break, get some food, fill up on gas if need be, and we'll hit the road until about, let's talk about that. When will that surge end? Probably until about 3. Probably until about 3 a.m. If bars close at 2, you'll have an initial wave. You can come back, get another passenger at 2:30, and then by then you should not be able to come back a third time, as most passengers will already be out of those bar areas around 12:45. Then 12:45 to 3, it should be dying down. Maybe some after parties, kind of passengers bouncing back and forth between house parties, and then it should be dying down around 3 a.m. All right, guys, so with that, I think we're going to wrap it up here. I really appreciate you watching the live stream. Our first New Year's Eve Mastermind. Thanks so much for joining. If you're not following already across socials, remember our new community on Facebook, facebook.com/yourdrivermike. We are on Snapchat, we are on Twitter, on Instagram, and of course here on YouTube. Make sure to follow across all of those socials, because each one of them provides you with a little bit of different content for you. So thank you so much, guys. Thanks for joining this live stream. We'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.